it's being recorded and will be put up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. And I'll post the links and whatnot in our social media. So please follow that. We have a great session coming up next week on athlete branding with, again, more heavy hitters. But right now, I'm going to hand it over to Amanda Rummery, who is our host this evening, and let you get started.
Wonderful. Thanks, Beth. Yeah, like she said, we've got some big names here tonight, and the topic is getting ready for summer. So we've got a bunch of questions that I've prepared, and then we'll have time at the end for questions from the viewers. So first up, we have Sage. Sage Watson is a Canadian athlete born in Alberta, specializing in the 400-meter hurdles. She competed internationally for Canada, reigning Pan American champion in the 400-meter hurdles, having also won Pan American medals in 2015 and 2019 as part of Canada's relay team. Sage first represented her country at the 2015 World Championships in Beijing, where she reached the semifinals. In July of 2016, she was officially named to Canada's Olympic team, reaching the semifinals in 400-meter hurdles and finishing 4th as part of Canada's 4x400-meter relay team. At 2017 World Championships, Sage finished 6th. At the 2019 World Championships in Doha, Sage qualified for the final of the 400-meter hurdles with a national record time of 54.32 seconds. And then next up, we have Eric Lutz. Eric has competed in track and field since 2010 and has been passionate about the sport ever since. He is currently a student at the University of Calgary, pursuing his bachelor's degree of social work, with goals of pursuing a master's degree of social work upon completion of his BSW. He currently works at Hull Services as a child and youth care counselor and continues to compete in track and field under the Calgary Spartans and the University of Calgary Dinos. And he competes primarily in the 1500-meter distance, and yeah, he loves that long race. And then next up, we have Malachi. Happy belated birthday, by the way, Malachi. It was your birthday last week, I believe. Yeah. Yes. He's a very strong sprinter, running the 100 and 200-meter events. He has represented Canada at the Junior Pan Am Games and has finished first place at the Canadian Track and Field Championships and the Canadian Western Games. And more to come from Malachi for sure in the next few years. Okay, guys, so first question I have for you. I know I gave your bio, but if you want to briefly introduce yourself, anything I didn't cover, where you are currently training, and some of your proudest accomplishments. Sage, how about I start with you?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. This is really fun and exciting. Currently, I'm in Tucson, Arizona. That's where I live and train. I train here. I used to go to the University of Arizona, and I'm still with my coach, who's the head coach here at the University of Arizona. I'm also a volunteer coach here as well. So I get to train at the university, and I also help coach, and that's kind of what I'm doing, and just in my preparations for Tokyo this year, and obviously the professional races coming up. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And Eric, how about you? Where are you currently training, and what's some of your proudest accomplishments thus far?
Hi, everyone. So yeah, I'm currently in Calgary, training under the Calgary Spartans. So I would say some of my proudest accomplishments would be recently winning the U Sports Championships in the 1500 and 1000. That was a really fun weekend, and I really enjoyed that. So I'd say that's my most recent favorite accomplishment, we'll say.
Love it. How about you, Malachi?
Hey, everyone. I train in Edmonton, Alberta, and I'm currently living in Edmonton, Alberta, born and raised. Some of my proudest accomplishments would have to be representing Team Canada in the 100-meter at Junior Pan Ams in 2019. and winning nationals in 2018 in the 200 meter and Western Canada Games in 2019 100 meter. Thank you.
Nice. I love it. Okay. I'm sure you guys get asked this question quite a bit, but how did you get into track? How did you find the sport? Eric, I'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. So I started running in grade 6, and I would do like kind of recreational 3K, 5K races for fun. And I just like really loved competing and pushing myself in longer distance running. So I started to train for it. At the time I lived in Red Deer, so I trained with the Red Deer Titans and started running track. I remember some of my first races were at the Butterdome, and just yeah, really loved competing, loved pushing myself in training, and I've just enjoyed it ever since.
Yeah, the Butterdome is the best indoor track, hey?
It is,
don't
yeah.
miss it.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's a great one. How about you, Sage? How'd you get into track?
I always loved running from a really young age, and it was kind of funny. There was a provincial meet in Medicine Hat. That's where I'm from, Medicine Hat, Alberta. Sorry, I didn't clarify that before, but I had been running at competitions, and my parents were like, "Sage, you need to enter in the 400. You know, you do really well, and it's to make Team Alberta." And I was so nervous. I think I was 13. I did not want to run the 400. I was just really scared, but my mom like pretty much forced me to do it. And I won my 400 race. I made Team Alberta, and it just kind of progressed from there, making Team Alberta to Team Canada, then, you know, to getting a scholarship for university. But it's so funny. Eric's girlfriend, Nicole Bauer, I wanted to like mention this. She is actually one of my best friends, like growing up, and still is one of my best friends. And the reason I love track so much was because the people I met. And Nicole, his girlfriend now, we're still really good friends. But the reason I got into track and loved it was because of the people I met and just the amazing friends I met along the way. So that's what's kind of kept me in the sport all these years.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome that you guys know each other. Alberta track world is pretty small.
Yes.
So of course you guys know, yeah, word gets around. How about you, Malachi? How'd you get into track?
I started track in grade 10. I was 16 years old, and it was just through school. And initially, I wasn't even going to hand my form in, and I actually ended up handing it in late. But my mom was like, she basically saw the form at the bottom of my bag and drove me to the office and kind of forced me to join the track team. And I ended up placing second at that nationals that year, so I just kind of stuck with it, and yeah, that's how my track journey started.
Nice. I like it. A little late to the game, but hey, you caught right up, so there's nothing bad about that. Okay, next question is a lot of athletes didn't get the opportunity to compete in 2020. I think Sage did from her Instagram, I could tell, but as athletes gear up for the 2021 outdoor season, do you guys have any tips for them for their first race back? And do you guys have races on the horizon? When are you opening up your season? We can start with you, Sage.
Yeah, I just ran a 400 last weekend here. I ran an indoor competition as well in Arkansas. And my biggest thing, I raced last year as well. I actually went over to Europe and did some races there. But my biggest thing is everybody's going to be nervous and everybody's going to be hesitant going into their first race because you haven't raced in so long and all you've done is training. Don't be afraid to step on the track for the first time after a long time. And that's my biggest point of advice. And even if you fail, even if you succeed, you showed up and you did it. And that's the first step into getting back into things. So I think as long as you show up, you know, do the best you can, test yourself, see where you're at, and then go from there. Because if you put too much expectation on that first race or the first time you're back on the track, you could find disappointment, but you have to remember it's like the first step into the getting into the journey and getting into the next season of track and field.
Yeah, I love that. And at the end of the day, a race is a race. So absolutely. Yep. Perfect. How about you, Malachi? Any tips for other athletes as they gear up for this outdoor season?
I'm just gearing up. I have my first race, I think, early June. And so I still have a lot of preparation to put in and training to put in. But I would just say my biggest thing would be just trusting the training regimen and the process that you put in leading up to the meet, because once you trust the process, like it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders, like you put in the work and now you're just seeing what the results are going to be, and that's really it.
Yeah, I like that. You've already put in the work, so you just got to show up on game day, on race day, and deliver.
Yeah.
Perfect. How about you, Eric?
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest thing I would say is just really enjoy that experience. I think a lot of athletes have not had the opportunity to race for a long time, and I think just going in and kind of being gracious of that opportunity and having a lot of fun, I think will, elicit really great results. I find like when I go into a race and I just enjoy that moment and shut out all the outside noise, I often do quite well. So I think, yeah, just really, really enjoying the opportunity and yeah, being grateful that you have that opportunity to compete.
Yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. Okay. Goals. Let's talk about some goals. So what are your goals heading into summer 2021? How about you, Sage?
I think, my biggest goal, like right now, I take goals step by step. I always have my big goal, and my big goal is always to run a personal best. I think that's really all we can truly ask for. The goal for this year is definitely to make the Olympic final as well. But I said, like, you don't want to get too ahead of yourself. So the next goal for me is, to get another 400 race in. And then I would say the next goal is like start doing the 400 hurdles. But I guess the goal is always for me is to run a personal best. So hopefully to break the Canadian record again this year. That would be the big one.
Absolutely. Your past race, it wasn't hurdles, it was just the 400 meter?
Yeah, it was just a flat 400. So we're kind of, and I think a lot of athletes do that. They kind of get into before they get into their main event, especially with the hurdles. We're working on a lot of technical stuff right now, and it's just kind of getting back in the starting blocks and racing, and then we'll start racing over hurdles soon.
Yeah, 400 is hard enough. We'll throw in the hurdles
yeah.
a little later. Awesome. How about you, Malachi? What are your goals for this season?
I agree. Like, your primary goal should most likely be to, hit a PB, but I also think little steps and taking it daily is critical in just ensuring that you do get a PB. So whether it's hitting a squat personal record or an in time 150, whatever it is you're doing, I think making a goal for each and every day is honestly the best thing you can do to hit that PB eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Setting those little goals. And how about you, Eric?
At this point, I don't really know what my season looks like. I'm kind of in the process of hopefully setting some races up, but I think like my immediate goal is just to continue to enjoy the training and enjoy the process I'm in right now. And kind of like Malachi said, just enjoying that process day to day. And then of course, again, as Sage said, just a PB is always the goal. And then if I do get the opportunity to race, and I hope I do, just again, really enjoying the opportunity to get back on the track and compete again. So they're not as concrete, but they're kind of just goals that I have for, enjoying the sport. So I think
nice. That's awesome. And right now it looks like Calgary is hopefully hosting quite a few meets.
Yeah, it looks like CalTAF, and there might be some in province races. So there's definitely
those balance ones are always great, and they're smaller, so greater chance of them happening with COVID, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah.
Nice. Okay, this one's just for Sage. So COVID-19 obviously makes it very hard to travel right now. I know that you traveled last year. You mentioned you went to Europe. Do you have any tips for people on the call today for staying active during that 2-week quarantine period?
Sadly, I did not stay active during my 2-week quarantine. I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. My 2-week quarantine was the end of my season. So I stayed at home. I hung out in my backyard. I pretty much chilled, but I have had to, stay active with limited resources. When I did go home last year, I live on a ranch with my family in Canada, and I went home with them for 4 months, and I had my little at-home gym, and I would just do everything I could in my little at-home gym. And what I found the best thing to do is not being repetitive every day, but trying out new exercises and things that you enjoy. Because when you're having fun with what you're doing, you're more likely gonna stay active and going to continue to exercise and try different core stuff, try different strength stuff, different kinds of workouts. But yeah, that's my best advice, because if you are in quarantine, it's boring and it's not that fun and you're limited. So just experimenting and trying some new things out was my best advice.
Nice. What 4 months were you back home at the ranch?
I was home last year for March, April, May, June. I came back here to Arizona in July, and then in August, for a few weeks, I went over to Europe. I competed in Hungary and Sweden, and it was fun. I actually got stuck in Sweden for a day because that's the next thing that's when people start traveling, each country has their own different restrictions. So I couldn't fly back to the US, so I got stuck there. So I flew back to Canada. I did my 2 weeks quarantine in Canada, which was great because I was my off season, so I was able to do that. And then I came back here to Arizona in October, and I've kind of been here training and getting ready. But yeah, I think we're going to come up with a lot of obstacles. It's going to be difficult these next little bit for athletes to find races, especially with the restrictions in Canada right now, because I know a lot of athletes go to races in the United States, and vice versa. I would go back home to go race in Canada, and that's just not an option right now, sadly. So yeah, just doing the best you can with what you have. That's all you can really do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I know myself and a lot of other athletes are heading to the States to get competitions in. So yeah, there's definitely those pros and cons that you're already there. So you have access to some meets there, but of course, like nationals being held in Canada, that makes it tough. Yeah. Okay. And how about you, Eric? How did you stay motivated during the COVID-19 pandemic thus far?
Honestly, I just kind of took it day by day and just like enjoyed like what running offers and like what training offers, and took it very back to the roots, not being able to compete and just focusing on the simple stuff and just, I don't know, trying to have as much fun as possible with, going out to the track and training. So yeah, just kind of, again, taking it day by day, controlling kind of the things I can control and not so much worrying about all the things that, you can't control, and just not getting bogged down by that stuff as much. I think it's kind of yeah.
Yeah. What year would this have been for you on the dynos?
It would have been my 4th year. So.
Okay. Are you going back next year?
Yes, I have one more year of my degree, and then we'll see what happens after that. But
okay, so you'll get your senior year in.
I think so. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, that's good. How about you, Malachi? How did you stay motivated during COVID-19?
This year I kind of just took a step back and like tried my hardest to develop the mental aspects of the sport. I've invested in a couple books and been practicing meditation on a daily basis and just stuff like that, and manifestation, all the mental training aspects that come along with track. And that's kind of the biggest thing that I've been doing throughout this COVID season.
Yeah, nice. I moved out to Victoria from Edmonton end of December, and I had all this time on my hands, but it was good because I got into podcasts and journaling and meditating, and it was the time to do it.
Nice.
Perfect. Okay, I got another one for you, Malachi. After your successful season in 2019, where you competed at the 2019 Junior Pan Am Games, how hard was it for you to lose your 2020 outdoor season?
At the time, it was really tough because me and my training partner, Ben, were just coming off of personal best. I ran a 6.75 in the indoor season, which put me first in my age group in the nation. And I think it was like 7th or 8th overall in the country. So that was definitely a tough loss, but you really can only, it was out of my control, right? I couldn't dwell too much on it. I just had to, do the things that are in my control. So it happens, and it's just time to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And Eric, you too, you had an amazing season. You came off of ultimate highs, 2 times U Sports gold medalist right before COVID started. Tell us a bit about that and how it shaped how you handled COVID and your goals for this summer.
Yeah, I definitely had a great weekend. It was kind of like a few days before everything kind of started shutting down. So it was like a interesting contrast between being at a meet with a bunch of people, then a week later we were locked down or getting to that point. But I think like I had a really great weekend, and it created a lot of momentum for me moving into the outdoor season. And I was really confident with my ability going forward. And while I wasn't able to compete, which was of course disappointing, I used that to just do the best I could in training. And I ended up having like a really great outdoor season of training that, while I can't use that fitness yet, like eventually I will be able to. And I think just staying optimistic and just waiting for that opportunity is, still exciting. And eventually with all that fitness we gain in the past year, or we have gained in the past year, will come around and we'll get to use it. So just excited for that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be seeing some big personal bests for sure. And I volunteered at the U Sport Nationals, and I don't know what it was, like 1 week before the whole world shut down. So it's crazy reflecting on that, how many hundreds of people were in the Butterdome, and now
I know.
It's crazy to think about that being a thing.
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. It was, yeah.
Nice. Okay. If anybody follows Sage on social media or has ever watched her compete, she always wears fabulous red lipstick. She looks flawless on the track, and she's got a great message behind that. And I was hoping you could share with us, Sage, why you compete in the red lipstick.
Yeah, it's funny. It kind of started. It started back when I went to Florida State University for the first time ever. I just wanted a little confidence boost that day. And I noticed whenever I would do my makeup kind of fancy or nice, like I felt good about myself. And that's what kind of led me like, hey, I'm going to get ready and kind of look good for my race. And it started from there. I realized that like my lipstick was almost like my little bit of confidence, and it eventually became like a ritual before I raced to get ready, feel good, and wear my red lipstick. And it got international attention at Rio. I didn't think it was that big of a deal to wear some red lipstick, but people really loved it. And they just thought that it was very empowering to see somebody, wearing red lipstick. And I eventually like looked behind the meaning of red lipstick and women's rights and all that came with it, and how it kind of came about and the history of it. And it just kind of stuck with me as something that makes me personally feel confident. And that's something that I like to do before a race. I encourage everyone to find what makes them feel confident for a race, whether that's like a lucky pair of socks, listening to your favorite song, listening or watching a certain motivational video, like whatever it is that puts you in that right mindset or gives you that little bit of confidence, do it. And that's kind of what the red lipstick stands for me.
Oh, nice. I like it. And yeah, people like dressing to impress, wearing your favorite race top, whatever it is. If it makes you feel good, run good.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Like, look good, feel good, run fast. That's what I always feel like I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. And it's a good message for little girls to do what they want. And if they want to wear lipstick, makeup, whatever it is, if it makes them feel good, do it.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Okay, Eric. Eric is part of Spartans in Calgary, and I'm wondering what your plans are for this summer. Is the club a go? What's training going to look like with the club?
Yeah, so the Spartans Track Club has been like really, really accommodating and doing the best they can to allow our athletes to train, which has been great. So we've been functioning the best we can. We have training opportunities for all of our athletes, which is great. So for me personally, going forward, we're kind of in the process of setting up a schedule, just because, it's kind of difficult. Hopefully going to the States, hopefully going to BC, but you never know just with how regulations work and how the quarantine process goes. But yeah, definitely in the process of working through that. And it's nice to have a really great club backing myself and other athletes, because it definitely helps with, setting up that schedule and knowing you have the support and backing when that time comes that you can maybe go down to the States or go to some other province, or even just stay here in Calgary. So yeah, it's been great.
Nice. How's the track looking? Are you able to train outside yet?
Yeah, the track. So in Calgary here, we've actually had the opportunity of clearing it. So the Glenmore Athletic Park here in Calgary, we've been clearing it off since December roughly. Our club invested in a snowblower. So my coach, Terry Crook, goes out there every time it snows and he blows it off and puts a ton of work in. And so all the clubs in Calgary have had a great opportunity to train at the Glenmore Athletic Park. And honestly, it's been a difficult winter and a different winter, but we've made it work, and it's been the best it can be, I think.
Oh, that is commitment. That's a good coach out there shoveling, snow blowing, and you got to adapt. So you guys made it work. It's important to get it on the outdoor track. So yeah. Yeah,
no, it's been great.
That's awesome. Okay, Malachi, question for you. You obviously have shown great progression in your 100 and 200 meters races so far. And in the past 5 years, you just keep hitting those personal bests, which is awesome. So going in, I know you talked about goal setting, but going into this outdoor season, do you have target times in mind that you want to hit, or do you not take that approach?
I definitely take a little bit of an adverse approach. I try not to have target times because I don't want to put limits on myself. Like, I feel like I can shock myself at any point in time. I could shock the audience. Like, I think I'm capable of definitely hitting times that I didn't think I was capable beforehand. And so I just trust my preparation and, all the work I put in up to that point, and, just the daily process. And that's really it.
Nice. Good.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Sage, how are you managing your Olympic preparation?
It's been fun. It's been interesting, but nothing's really changed too much for me other than last year. I had to go back home and I trained back in Canada, doing what they were doing in Calgary, shoveling snow off my track in March to run around it. Been there. But right now we're getting into racing season. So I'm training here at the University of Arizona. I train with another professional 400 hurdler. So we've been able to push each other in practice. But I think the next big step is, getting a few more races in here in the US. Sounds like we're going to Poland for the World Relays. Of course, that can change at any moment. So World Relays are up next month, or end of next month. We're going beginning of May. So that will be interesting to go to that. And then some Diamond League races are possibly opening up. In the professional world right now, there's no certainty for races. So that's looking like a few pro meets in the Diamond League series might open up. So traveling possibly over to Europe for those. But then the main goal is always, what can I do, or what races will get me ready for Tokyo? So it's not just running races for the sake of running races. It's running races strategically to prepare myself and to prepare my training. So, then hopefully, Tokyo, everything goes great. And then it looks like there'll be another full-blown pro season after Tokyo going into September from the Diamond League series and from a lot of the pro meets. So it should be an interesting, fun summer. Like with everybody, there's so much uncertainty. So I'm not gonna be, we used to be like, hey, I got to meet next month, this day, it's for 100% going, I'm going. And now it's like, I might have a meet in a month, it could go. And I think we've all learned that anything can change at any moment. So not to put all of our expectations on one race to do something, but, be open-minded to, especially right now, training and racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Does the States, do you have to quarantine when you come back from Europe?
No. The United States it's never done any sort of quarantine or anything like that. They do, for some countries, it is recommended you to get a test before flying over. and then getting a test to enter back to the United States. And the United States has closed its borders to a lot of countries. But for the most part, Canadians, a lot of European countries, it's open. So no quarantining here.
Oh, that's nice. Great. And yeah, you mentioned your training partner. I think Nate's on the call. That's Nate's cousin, right? Is it Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia Emmeline. She's my training partner. She's ran for Team USA, competed at the 2012 Olympic Games. So she's a great training partner. It's great to have somebody who does the same event to push you, and just that everyday thing, because, you know, we've done a lot of time trials here because we haven't been able to race as much. So it's great to have somebody to push you in training. And I think we all are appreciative of our teammates now that we've, you know, had to spend time away from them, and now we're starting to be able to use our teammates to train again. So that's a really big thing right now, is to have teammates and friends to help push you to make yourself better.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that she does like the exact same event, like not even just 400-meter, but 400-meter hurdles, is awesome. And if you have a relationship, yeah, that would definitely push you to succeed. Is that part of the reason you continue to like train in Arizona, is because of that relationship?
Yeah, and my coach, you know, I transferred to University of Arizona in 2015 from Florida State University, and I was really looking for a coach that could take me to the next level. But also, when I made the decision to transfer here, I wanted to make sure this was a place I could stay after my collegiate career as a professional and still have, you know, a good life here, good facilities, a good coach, and training partners.
Nice, that's awesome. Malachi, athletes are adaptable. And how did you alter your training over the past, it's been over a year now, to deal with lack of facility access? I was in Edmonton too, so I kind of know what you've had to deal with, but how have you adapted?
When it's nice, I'm outside. Like, if it's nice outside, you'll catch me outside. But my family was fortunate enough just to get me some equipment, like a bike, you know, bands, a couple weights. So I was blessed, and I got a couple of things that I could use here. And there were some facilities that were accessible for a couple days of the week, which also helped, thanks to Edmonton Track and Field Council. Like, we had turf days and we had Kinsmen for a limited amount of time. And so that was a really big help. But now that it's starting to get warm, I'm outside almost every day, and training is getting back to normal.
Nice. Are you back on Rolly Miles?
I haven't touched that track yet, but I'm excited to. I've kind of switched training groups. I'm not really with Vallejo anymore, so I won't be at Rolling Miles. I'll probably be at Footfield and Sherwood Park mostly. But, you know, a track's a track, and I'm not going to complain either way.
Nice. Yeah, it was great. Edmonton Track and Field Council definitely advocated for their athletes over this past winter, and getting facility access at the Expo Center was amazing for high jumpers, long jumping, and pole vaulters, sprinting. It was great to have that. Nice. And Eric, is there anything you did in particular over this past year to keep you sharp and motivated in training? Did you do any time trials or do any training sessions with your training partners, anything like that?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to like get out to the Airdrie track because it was the only option for us. So we were able to stay like quite sharp on that track with like going with a couple guys here and there. I was lucky enough to train with my girlfriend most times, which helped, just having the company. And yeah, we did a couple time trials in 2020 in the summer, but it's never the same as racing. It's not the same as competing, but I think just still being able to run through the motions of training and having a track to access was enough to keep me sharp. And yeah, honestly, just I enjoy training, so it was easy to stay motivated for me and just keep taking it day by day.
Nice. That's good to hear. Okay, next one is for Sage. Sage, you've had an amazing career thus far, and rising the ranks from high school star, from medicine hat to the international stage, becoming an international star. Do you have any tips for the viewers today on progressing from junior to senior ranks, and anything that you would credit to your longevity and success of your career so far?
That's a big loaded question, but a good one. I mean, there's a lot of, we could go on
straight from Jess, good old Jess.
Yeah, we could go on for hours, but I think the biggest thing, and I think a lot of athletes, you know, especially athletes on the panel here, you have to love what you do and you have to enjoy it. And that's the biggest thing that I've found with track and field. The day I stop loving and enjoying track and field is the day I'll be done with it. And I love what I do. I truly do. Track and field is my passion. I have fun with my teammates, getting like training. Growing up, I love being on Team Alberta, Legion Camp. That was, you know, I was thinking about this the other day. You know, the Olympics were fun. The Olympics were amazing. They were great. But the most fun I ever had in the sport of track and field was like Legion Nationals track camps when I was younger. And those memories are going to stay with me forever. And that's why I love this sport, is because I had so much fun in the sport and I continue to have fun with the sport. And, you know, not all days are fun, especially, you know, being a pro athlete. It looks glamorous from the outside, but there's a lot of stuff you got to deal with. And your livelihood depends on you continuing to run fast, and there's a lot of pressure in the sport, and I'm sure athletes feel that pressure at every level, but especially the pro level, there's a lot of pressures. But what I find, I alleviate that pressure by having fun with what I do and enjoying it. I love my coach. He's a great man. I love getting to talk to him every day, and just our connection, my training partners, being a volunteer coach here at the University of Arizona and watching these collegiate athletes progress and being excited for them, that kind of keeps the sport alive within me and keeps my motivation. So my biggest piece of advice that I can give to any athlete, especially young athletes, is make sure that you enjoy what you do. Find the love for it. You know, you might not always enjoy your coach that day or your teammates that day, or it might be a really sucky, hard practice. But as long as you are continuing to love the sport and finding enjoyment with it and finding little fun moments within it, I think that's what keeps you going. And that's really what I credit my career to, is just loving the sport and having fun.
Absolutely. I remember at our Athletics Alberta banquet one year, we had a speaker say that you can really tell that you love the sport of track and field when you've had bad performances or you're injured or everything's going wrong and you still love the sport. Because it's easy to love the sport and love running when you're PBing all the time and you're making all these teams, but when you still love it when it's not going great, I think that's the real test.
Yeah, that definitely is the test, and I've been tested a few times, so I love it.
Oh, good. Perfect. And this question can go out to anybody. What's the best advice you've ever received from your coach? You can think about it. It's a hard one, but we all have good advice we get from our coach. How about you, Malachi?
My coach is more the type of guy to just let me do my own thing, and he's always there pushing me. But I don't know if there's one specific thing he said to me. I just feel like it's his consistency of being there and the consistency of just giving me knowledge that I can not only use on the track, but in everyday life.
Nice. How about you, Eric?
So my coach, Terry Crick, he isn't I don't know. He doesn't give a lot of like advice, but one thing that he says that I think is really motivational, and I think it's like coined as a joke a lot of the time, but it sets our ceiling really high, as he's always like, we're training for the Olympics here, so you know, make sure you're doing everything you can be to make the Olympics. And he says it to everyone, and it's just this very umbrella term statement he says that, and it sets that ceiling really high. And I just think it pushes us to get the best out of each other and ourselves every day. And I don't know, that's one thing I think that stands out.
Nice. I like it. How about you, Sage? What stuck out from your coach?
When I decided I was going to go pro after university, I was kind of really struggling with, why I wanted to go pro in track and field and just my identity, because I was going from a student athlete who was just in the US, just to get a degree and to compete in track. And then I was also all of a sudden going into like this professional world where, I was representing major companies and my country. And the best thing my coach ever said to me, I'll never forget it. We were sitting in a meeting and he says, well, what's your reason why? Like, what's your reason why you're doing what you're doing? And that can apply to truly anywhere in life, no matter what job you're doing or what you're doing or anything. And so I really sat back and I tried to think about like my reason why and what's my reason why in this sport and why am I doing what I'm doing and why am I pursuing these certain goals that I'm pursuing. And that advice he gave me is like of knowing your reason why is something I think about every day almost. Just, waking up in the morning, you don't want to wake up. I didn't want to wake up for my 6 a.m. weights this morning. I was tired, but you kind of remember like, hey, why am I doing this? What's my reason why? And it's, I mean, I could go on about my reasons why, but that's just the basic thing he always said to us is, know your why.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very good advice. So obviously you're go back to your why for when maybe you're unmotivated or in training slumps, but I'll ask the question to the other athletes. Malachi, how do you deal with training slumps?
I would say I definitely experienced a slump during this COVID year. And, sometimes it's really critical to just take a step back, give yourself a day of recovery or give yourself a couple of days just to, find yourself, find out again why you're doing what you're doing. And there's not much else you can do besides just giving yourself some time.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Eric?
So I think like the biggest thing that I do is I just like listen to my body and also I listen to my mind. And I think on days when I'm just not as motivated, I'm okay with admitting that. And I think there's like a level of emotional maturity that comes with like just being okay with saying, you know what, today's not my day, and realizing that and taking that day to rest your body or rest your mind or whatever it may be. So kind of like Malachi said, just taking a step away and maybe just resting is something that, especially when you need it, right? So something I do too.
Yeah, it's more important to take a step back than push through and something wrong happen at the end of the day, one bad training session or one missed practice is not going to be the reason you don't make it to Tokyo, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And you can't have like every day can't be a perfect day, It's great to have many good days, but you can't be on all the time, right? You always got to take the time to step back, right? So
yeah, absolutely. I've got another one for you, Eric. This one came from the viewers. Your double gold medals at youth sports were huge, a huge progression to prior performances in your career. What do you think led to this huge jump?
Yeah, I think for a long time I had something in me like that, but I just I think I lost when I started university, I think I lost touch with the sport a little bit in terms of the enjoyment and really enjoy being in those moments of racing and training. And I had an injury that kind of took me out of the sport for a little bit in the end of 2018, and it kind of pushed me to take a step back and realize why I ran track and why I had enjoyed track. And it really three things that it kind of pushed me to do was really enjoy the moment, take advantage of every single opportunity and do it because I was doing it for me and shutting out all that outside pressure. And kind of so moving forward after my injury, I really enjoyed it again. And I kind of just in races and in training, I just started performing better because I was doing the sport for the right reason.
Nice. And you said when you first got involved, you were doing recreational like 3K, 4K runs, but after that point, were you always racing the 1500?
I like when I was younger, I raced like middle distance. So I'd run like the 800 and like the 1200 and 2K with like midget. And then like I transitioned and I was like primarily doing the 800. And then, yeah. And then I kind of, the 1500, I started running more as I hit university.
Nice. Did you ever go up to the 5K for racing?
No, 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 not yet. Maybe one day. I don't know if that'll come though. It's a long,
Yeah, we're not crazy like Jess.
no, no, no.
Too long. Way too
Yeah.
long. Nice. Perfect. Okay. Malachi, you touched on how you trained during the winter with your family helping you out with weight equipment and all that. Was it hard for you to take a step back from sprinting, or were you able to still get some sprinting in?
I had to take like I would say a couple weeks off of sprinting, maybe two or 3 weeks off of sprinting. But you know, when the facilities were open, me and my team were out there and we were getting in as much sprints as we can. But what helped me was investing into the mental aspect of the game, just looking at some books or completing a couple books and you know finding yourself. I think is a really important aspect of this whole sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got into reading, hey?
Yeah, I have.
I took up reading too, it was like my New Year's resolution. I don't know if you've heard of the app Goodreads, but you should download it. It recommends like amazing books for you to read, and then you can add friends and see what they're reading, and it's really
I'll check it out.
Yeah, Goodreads, it's a good one. Okay, so this is a question from the viewers. How did you pick a university, and how have you managed to balance the demands of university schoolwork and then also with training? So I'll start with you, Eric.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, I kind of just landed on University of Calgary just because it kind of was what worked out for me. But it ended up being like a blessing because I've really excelled in my education and athletics because of it. And then in terms of kind of just managing athletics and academics, you're going to be busy and you really have to find ways to manage your time. And it's one of those things that everyone says, and it's easier said than done. But I think it really takes, I don't know, just figuring out like what you need to do each day and taking it day by day. And one thing I do personally is I have a calendar and I set all these due dates and I set that like what I need to do each day so I can take it out of my mind and put it on paper and stay nice and organized. So I think that's kind of how I manage my time. But again, time management, it's probably the biggest one. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not all perfect at it. When I was in university and training, I still took the 5 classes.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could go back in time, I definitely would have done a reduced course load because I just miss being in university and that schedule and that regime too. So I don't know why I was in such a rush to graduate anyway. But Are you doing your degree in 5 years?
Yes, I did 5 and 5 this year because of COVID and stuff, and it's busy. So I know what you mean. It's nice to kind of do less and like just enjoy the overall experience and still be busy with academics, but still have the time to take in all that university offers. So
yeah, absolutely. How about you, Malachi? Are you in university right now?
Yeah, I'm currently at NAIT. I'm taking a 2-year diploma, 2.5-year diploma. I didn't really get like a ton of offers or a ton of appealing offers. So, but track is what I want to do and it's what I'm going to do. So I kind of looked at what NAIT had to offer and I found this program that I'm currently in, which is disaster and emergency management. And it's an online program. And so it's really up to me of how much I want to get done, how well I want to do, and when I'm going to do it, which gives me a lot more time to focus on track. But you know, it does create discipline because literally all my schooling falls on, as COVID has put everybody online, but I was doing it like just a year prior, so I've already had this discipline practice with school. And yeah.
Nice. And Sage, you said that you started out in Florida and then switched to ASU. So do you want to share a bit about that journey and how you managed to balance all the schoolwork while being a professional athlete?
Yeah,
so I was professional when you were NCAA, but
yeah, I went to Florida State University and I competed with them for 3 years. And then I decided to make the transfer to the University of Arizona. My biggest thing that I did was I kept, you know, similar to Eric, I had an agenda, and I always used to think they were silly in high school until I got to university, and I used my agenda like daily. Like I wrote down everything I had. I wrote down what time my practice was at, you know, meetings, my classes, homework, whatever it was. So I think definitely, you know, prioritizing getting a calendar or an agenda, or maybe even just making some notes in your phone, you know, daily reminders. That was a big thing. But what I learned is just not overdoing it. So I had a rule my last few years of university. I wouldn't stay up, and this might sound crazy to university students, but I wouldn't stay up past 10 o'clock doing homework. I would rather wake up at 5 or 6 a.m. and get it done versus lose sleep over it. Because I think in university, that's a lot happens to a lot of university students is you're trying to cram all night and you stay up all night, and then you show up to practice thinking you're, you know, ready to run or ready to do. And, you know, sometimes in university that happens, but I really tried to prioritize getting my sleep as a big thing. And I think that really paid off for me. But yeah, not doing homework past 10 o'clock was my rule. And people thought I was crazy when I would wake up at 6 a.m. to get my homework done before class and study or whatever I did. But it paid off because I was able then to balance my athletic and training and recovery with school.
Nice. I'm similar. I've always been an early bedtime kind of person, but I remember seeing like friends who would stay up writing papers at 4 in the morning, and I'm like, how is anything you're writing quality at this point? Like, how can you be writing an essay at 3 in the morning? That's absurd.
Yeah, so that my freshman year, I decided, I was gonna pull an all-nighter, drink coffee all night. That was the thing you did, right? Like that's the university life. So drink coffee, I stayed up all night. I had a really hard training session the next day and I completely died, but I pushed my body so hard in training, I ended up getting like severely sick after. So that was kind of my wake up call to, hey, you can't be staying up all night drinking coffee and then show up at practice the next day thinking you're ready to go. So that's when I was like, okay, I need to change my ways. You know, university is important, but how can I balance this athlete and school life?
Totally. Absolutely. Okay, Sage, I got another one for you. This one comes from Sahid. He said, or she, Sage, were you a multi-sport athlete growing up? When did you make the complete transition to solely focus on track? And any advice for young aspiring hurdlers that hope to achieve what you have been able to?
Yeah, I was a multi-sport athlete. You know, growing up, I did soccer, basketball, volleyball, ski racing. I kind of did it all. And then my parents were like, look, you can't be doing basketball, volleyball, ski racing, cross country, track and field. So I started to narrow it down. In high school, I just did volleyball, cross country, and track and field. And I felt that was like great. It kind of takes your mind off of just focusing on one sport. I encourage all athletes, go out there and try different sports. Because if you start focusing on one sport too young, I've noticed, and I've seen this especially in university, athletes get burnt out their first year of university or by the time their second year of university, because for the past 4 years, they've just been focusing on track or they've just been focusing on basketball. I've talked to a lot of different university students. So yeah, and do a lot of sports, enjoy it. Also, for me, I found doing, you know, I can't do any sports right now, but I like to go hiking and do yoga. So like other physical activities other than track. I still continue to try to do that. If I could play volleyball and basketball right now, I definitely would. But you know, Nike contracts and stuff, they don't allow you to really roll an ankle playing another sport. So I can't play other sports, but I try to do other things. And my best advice for young hurdlers, I was not a very good hurdler growing up. I know people probably thought I was. I would literally run to the hurdle and like jump over it, run to the next one, jump over it. My form was all over the place. So really what helped me was doing hurdle drills, getting in the weight room, doing specific strength stuff. Balance is definitely a really important thing when it comes to hurdling. So getting your balance down, core strength, and then lots of hurdle drills and getting a lot of reps over hurdles. That's really important, and definitely understanding your stride pattern is huge for the 400 hurdles, but especially, for the short hurdles, figuring out that rhythm is really big.
Oh, that's amazing advice. Yeah, that's great. Okay, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. The hour flew by. Thank you guys so much for participating. You guys are busy, and it was just awesome to ask you guys questions today and yeah, represent Alberta. And I wish you guys all the best going into the outdoor 2020 season. 2021.
2021, yeah.
Perfect. Do you want to wrap that
Yes,
up?
thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. This will be on again on our YouTube channel. Feel free to share it up tomorrow, and let's get these great thoughts out there into the world beyond just the people that were here in this moment. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Stay well.
All the best.
Bye.
Good job.